Three, two, one.
Yeah. Let's get it.
All
bro.
right.
All right, guys. Welcome back. Episode 2 of the Loaded Dice podcast. We're here.
We're not a one-hit wonder. We're
Yeah.
back with some more content for you guys. So it's been a while since our other episode.
Yeah, we had to take a little bit of a break. Last meta was really something special, to say the least. But yeah, we're back. New season, new cards, a whole new landscape, and then a lot of stuff to cover. A lot of stuff to cover regarding, one, all the new cards that have been added, and two, seasonals that just transpired. A lot of spicy stuff going on there as well.
Yeah. A whole new game, really. Kind of
Yeah.
feels. A lot of people have been saying it feels like beta lore, and
Yeah.
I agree with that.
It feels like a clash of eras in a lot of ways. There's a lot of different decks that are hitting each era that are all coming back at once, and it's pretty fresh and it's pretty fun for sure. And then of course the new twists with just certain cards getting added, such as Yetis and things like that are just really adding to the whole mix.
Yeah. Before we dive in, that'll be the bulk of this episode. I was on a work trip for a couple weeks, wasn't able to stream, and actually wasn't able to play in seasonals, which was a bit unfortunate because that is how I was qualified for Worlds, through seasonal points. But I was able to log in at the end and get some free wins, so I went 4 and 5 at the end.
Okay.
And I played 2 games, I think, in total.
Yeah, I
So,
think that'll matter at the end of the day for you.
Yeah.
Where you're at.
But something else happened this seasonals.
This seasonals, friend of the stream, friend of the podcast, friend of
Both of us.
Duckling,
Our boy
was able to take it.
Quack, quack, quack.
Win the whole thing. And the craziest thing about this is, there's a lot of decks that you'd expect to see at seasonals, especially in top 32. He wasn't really rocking most of those. He's out there with the Cythria combo, I believe Teemo Ezreal, and I do not remember his third deck, but spicy lineup.
I don't remember his third deck either, but we can put it in the description. He wasn't he targeted Targon, and one other deck, I think Draven as well, potentially, and obviously it paid off, but we're gonna have him as a guest on the stream as well, probably for our next episode, so that's gonna be super
something
exciting
to look forward to for sure.
But all the casters were saying such a refreshing series to cast. Usually, in top 32, it's a lot of, there's a lot on the line. You want to play the best decks that are out there, and so you do see a lot of meta picks, a lot of, the same decks that you would expect to see on top of ladder, but he did it his way, and he took it home, and it was some of the most exciting LOR top-level play that, for the viewers
absolutely.
and the casters.
It's one thing to have, the guts to bring that type of lineup and that kind of deck, but to perform not just well, but win the whole event, that's wild. And, there's definitely that factor. I'm sure a lot of people weren't expecting to run into that and didn't account for it, so.
Yeah, and it's just good to see all the effort pay off, because Duckling was one of the first streamers that I watched before I started streaming.
Yeah,
He's been at it for a while, and consistency. Put in the work, It comes back around.
I just remembered because, I don't know for sure, but Duckling, when he first started, I remember he was a Nightfall grinder. I think Nightfall might have been his third deck, but I'm not totally certain on that.
That could be true. Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, we'll lock that in. But anyway, so look forward to that. Duckling will be our first interview guest. I can't think of anyone better than that to kick off once we start doing guests on here. But I think we're good to dive right in, man. So,
yeah, man.
This patch.
It's
here.
It's here, and it did not disappoint as far as the patch and balance patch. So many changes and so much just to all the top end. They really you could tell they listened, because the one thing that everybody was talking about was look, you can't just hit a Zerarelia.
Yep.
You nerf that, there's
everything has to come down the line.
There's so many other decks that are just going to be if you don't nerf this one just takes the top slot, and that that cycle is just going to keep going. And they heard, and they really chopped all of the top. Going first with the Zerarelia, what do you think about those changes in particular? How do you feel the deck fares now?
I'm just pulling these up here. So the Irelia nerf, fine. Her level up got adjusted by 2. You need to see 2 more enemies attack. that's a fine change. I didn't see the blade surge change that I had wanted to see about creating multiple zero cost blade surges.
Yeah.
They didn't really hit that part of her that I was hoping would get tweaked, and they left Azir, now he levels up with 13 units summoned instead of 10. Also a fine change, but they left him at 5 health, which I think was a little problematic.
I think with the change they made with Azir in particular, I think that does hurt most of the other like decks that wanted to slot him in there.
Oh,
I mean, the very obvious thing I've already seen on ladder, the Shurima Noxus is now packaging Draven normally instead, just cut out the Azir, which I mean, Draven's super solid. I don't even find that like much of a downgrade. I feel like, you might have even considered that before, depending on certain situations, but I feel like it's a little unfortunate that they couldn't go with the strategy where, you can get that payoff in some other decks. It's something that needed to happen, just obviously. If they
had said too, they don't want to tweak champs like Azir in certain ways, dropping the health or whatever, because it'll affect their performance in other decks. But this tweak definitely does that, like you're saying. You're not going to get that cool bonus in an aggro token deck that's not.
The one that people tend to talk about as far as this factor, but wasn't doing too well anyways, is Mono Shurima got that much harder for sure. Oh,
true. Yeah. So I think the Aurelia Azir changes is probably the worst part of the patch for me.
In what way? Like
they
disappointed?
They didn't go far enough. They're really uncreative changes, and
I think they're uncreative. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if I see more Azir Aurelia kind of just getting into the mix of the meta once things settle down a little bit.
Yeah,
and people get a little not tired of the new cards, but you know what I mean? Just starting to
focus more on points.
Yeah, focus more on points and focus more on ranked. I think that deck is a sleeper pick right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, they brought down, as we'll talk about, the strength of the other top 3 decks, but if there is to be a clear tier 1 deck right now, it still is Aurelia Azir, despite these changes. It's gone through 2 sets of nerfs now, and still looking pretty strong. Darkodius, a player we both know, I've had on stream a bunch, he hit Masters already pretty quickly with Aurelia Azir, so looks like he's enjoying those new cards for sure.
That deck, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, he did have a couple of the new cards in there.
Really? Oh, cool.
There's the one card that was added. I forget.
The 4 cost.
Yeah, I forget the name of it, but he added that one, and he has one other mix. Oh, well, it's not a new card, but he did incorporate some twin disciplines after.
Oh, yeah.
After the
buff. The Reign of Ionia has begun.
Reign of Ionia. They got some good tools for sure. They really want to see Ionia out there. And honestly, there's been some quite a widespread of different Ionia representation I've been seeing on ladder, which is pretty crazy.
There's so much to dig in.
Then, we'll kind of just keep going over these nerfs, and then we can. We got
what were you most excited to see? I know we had both talked on our last episode about wanting to see Bilge come back into the scene, and it got some love this patch.
It did get some love. I mean, the main thing I was excited for was really just like that whole thing we're talking about of just bringing the top power level down a notch so like everything else could have some game. And I think like they really did get what they wanted out of this patch. Like there's just so many different decks that are all like feeling pretty viable right now.
Yep.
And if you go through, like go in your region, check the leaderboards, check on your Masters rank, click through the decks, you'll see a lot of surprising stuff that's like doing well and competing at a high level, which is like great to see. It's still early in the season to make like, super big calls on the meta and things like that, but right now it feels how I want lore to feel,
Yeah, I liked the Make It Rain change is huge. I loved that card when it came out. I played it so much. It's such a cool card. Like it has just the right amount of variance, but consistency with the targeting, and it also buffs MF because that's her champ spell, and they gave her Overwhelm again as her keyword. So
that was like one thing that I almost like forgot about with MF is also just the synergy that she has with Make It Rain itself. That where like literally, you know what I mean? You're dealing 1 to the board, you stack a Make It Rain on top. You could keep units alive. You could really like set up some real threatening stuff with that. And I like forgot about that as a thing. Like I was playing Pirate Burn for a little bit, and I was like, I forgot I could do this. This is, this was a good thing for sure. So it's definitely good to see that card back in the mix. I remember when it got nerfed, it almost felt like it was like a diversion, because I remember at the time everybody was screaming, calling for Riptide Rex nerfs.
Yeah.
And I remember a narrative being pushed that's like, oh no, Rex is fine.
Yep.
Let's make it rain. And at the time, I was like, I don't think so. I think you guys, it's fine to have a good card. It's just a good card. And they killed that card, and we saw Bilge die right after.
It's a needed tool in Bilge. So, and
it just
also
fits the identity of all their archetypes.
Yep. And it makes the namesake of our podcast maybe even more viable, Loaded Dice. So you love to see it, honestly.
True.
So I've got some other ones. We can go over it a little bit, like Jarvan and the Tryndamere buffs. Jarvan needing one less ally to survive damage, and Tryndamere getting tough now as well. So he had fearsome already, right? Level Tryndamere?
Yeah, fearsome. The only addition is tough on the leveled up form. Ironically enough, I played a game against somebody running Tryndamere, and I was playing Lurk, and I still won the game, but it was a situation where I had exactly 9 damage unit, and I couldn't kill his Tryndamere because it had the tough, and I was like, I never thought I'd see a situation where it mattered at all, but yeah, so technically in that game, if he had Atro, he could have got me, but he didn't, and I still won, but I was like, okay,
it matters a little, that change. Yeah. It matters a little, but the Jarvan one's
pretty huge.
You were saying Jarvan was already fringe playable. Fiora no longer in Shen Fiora, so Shen Jarvan, and you told me about a deck that uses him as well.
If you guys check Masters leaderboard in NA right now at the time of filming this podcast, number 1 on the leaderboard is playing Taric Jarvan.
You heard that right. Taric is number 1 NA leaderboard.
Number 1 NA leaderboard. That Jarvan change is huge. I think it was pretty hard to level him, and Jarvan's one though, like his level up is pretty explosive for sure. Because I mean, Jarvan starts to get the barriers going. Those strikes can be huge. If you incorporate scouts, you always have that as well. Most of the decks I see Jarvan in at the moment aren't running scouts, but it's still just another option that you have at your disposal, which is like super fire. So I mean, I'm loving that one. Jarvan did need some love, and I also think mid-range just got better overall in general. So it's a good time for a lot of the mid-range archetypes to come out of the woodworks and just really.
There's so many.
There's so many out there right now that are all just trying to really battle for that top spot. At the moment, Tarik's in the lead.
The most hype change of the patch, because the patch and the new cards coming together, it's just like, it's so nice. It opens up so much all at once. But the most hype change is the Karma change, I think.
That one's big.
It was getting the most excitement on Twitter from people that we follow. We know Majin, shout out Majin, huge Karma fan. There's so many.
There are so many. I mean, Grappler even. Like, there are a lot of players that ride or die.
Love Karma.
Alan, I know Alan is a huge Karma
definitely.
fan. Yeah, so a lot of people were excited for that. And it's just crazy, though, because I have seen Karma definitely feels better to play.
Right.
And it's just crazy because when that nerf happened, everybody thought, like, oh,
it was unnecessary, I thought, as well. I don't know.
Well, at the time, people were saying, like, oh, this nerf is going to do nothing. I mean, you play Karma turn 10, what's the difference? And that was not the case. It was a nerf that was, like, sneaky powerful, and Karma got some love, and I think she's, like, way better. The other huge thing, in my opinion, with this buff is that now in turn 10, let's say you play a Karma, they remove it, you can replay another Karma,
that's
was
huge.
Not a possibility. Definitely a huge thing that just like gives you that option, because sometimes, having that Karma leading into the next round is all you need. If you don't have that set up, that's when things get real dicey for you. So it's a huge one, and like we said, Ionia got a lot of love this patch, so some other cards that really helped her just thrive in a lot of different archetypes right now.
Yeah, the change, you don't know, by the way, she went down 1 mana from 6 to 5, which is just huge on a champ. And it's kind of like what you said too, that 1 mana is always big, but especially on those break points where you can play her twice in a turn, or with the Atro nerf,
exactly.
Now you can't double Atro, and so those situations are going to happen very, very, very often. So that's cool to see. And then the Will of Ionia change is the other one that's like massive. Will is back.
Massive.
But maybe Homecoming is still better?
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. I tweeted as soon as I saw the Will buff, I was like, I just got PTSD right now, because that one was scary. It was definitely overtuned at the time, and like really toxic, but so far, like, it's not feeling that oppressive or even good, I would say. With Homecoming being an option and Recall Synergy having some viability, especially in Azir and things like that, Homecoming is kind of just feeling like a better choice, which is crazy to say at this point, because when Will was at the top of its game, I would have never thought 4-mana Will would
It was
not.
scary.
Yeah, would not
Every
feel
time you
like
play a
broken
big
card.
unit, you were like, am I going to
Yeah.
get willed? Am I going to get willed?
Especially like when things like Deep was just super running the landscape, and then, you know, you just send all the Nautilus back to the hand each time. It was bullying for sure. Also at the time, Tryndamere was more prevalent. A lot of these bigger game units. Spell Shield wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Also huge, you know. Stuff like Asol has some protection against that, thankfully.
And Twin Discipline.
Huge.
Massive. Like, I'm seeing this in so many decks. It's such a flexible card now. It went down from, it was 3 mana. It was a nerf. Originally, it was 2 mana, right? So it's been reverted.
Ever since I played, it was 3 mana. It might have been 2 at maybe.
I feel like
point.
it was 2, maybe in beta.
Maybe in beta.
Check me if I'm wrong on that in the comments, but I do feel like there was a revert of a change. A lot of the changes this patch, the token buffs, if you want to call them that, were reverts of old nerfs, which some people were saying was not the most creative way to do it, but I'm happy to see it, the number of changes that were made.
Yeah, I am very happy to see it. And the other thing about it is just like with the reverts, you know exactly how they incorporate, you know, into the game. So it's like, you know how it's going to go down. It's like some of the other stuff you kind of need to really brainstorm and just kind of check all the boxes and make sure that it's going to work properly, right? So I get that, especially when, you know, we go back and we know like the Reddit drama and things of that nature where they were talking about, you know, potentially not nerfing some of this stuff and potentially not really looking into doing quote unquote token buffs. So if they're just starting to look into those buffs and those types of situations that early on, like before the patch cycle, I'm not surprised that they started off by just hitting a lot of safe options like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Twin is huge.
Twin's
so
pretty
flexible,
cracked, yeah.
and like it can go and I don't know if it's an auto 3 of anytime you're splashing Ionia, but like it is really strong.
Yeah.
So that was cool to see.
Lulu's out there with it, you know. They're all the different Ionia
The Lulu
champs
decks are good right now.
They're
I
pretty
got
good, yeah.
smacked by one on ladder with the new Swiftwing something, the 4-cost 3/2 that creates a card. It's a challenger.
Another card I've seen incorporated to when they go PNZ route, the Boom Baboon is a pretty good card as well. I'm liking that one.
I don't even know if I know that card.
2 mana 3/1, generate a Flame Chompers in hand.
Yes, no, yeah. So it's too new. Yeah, that card is good.
Yeah, that card is
good.
Card's good. I'm using it in some of my different PNZ variants. It's a good card for sure, and it fits really naturally into a lot of these decks. Like I'm just like, oh, this is like a no-brainer. You know, you just throw it in and it just fits easy. Fits easy. For
Rule
sure.
of thumb: card creation pretty good. Pretty strong mechanic.
Speaking of card creation, Rummage nerf. Because
Sad. Sad. I didn't
agree.
think it was needed.
I don't know who was asking for it. I've never seen.
Sad.
Up until the point where I saw the nerf, I had not seen one person say anything about Rummage in like a negative way or asking for any type of nerf. Came out of nowhere, in my opinion.
It's unplayable. It's pretty unplayable. I've seen it, people trying, I think they just don't want to let go, but like, it's not good anymore.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest things with card creations, because Rummage would guarantee you value. It's like, all right, even if this card maybe bricks and I'm not going to use it, I could just splash it out with the Rummage and keep on cycling, which was so nice. And honestly, it felt good. It felt good. I never minded when I saw an opponent Rummage. So I'm a little upset about that one. And it does remind me of another nerf. Stalking Shadows felt like it came out of nowhere too for me.
Yeah,
I don't know how you feel about that one.
I wasn't calling for it. I didn't really want to see it. I'm a bit sad. I think it happened, but I was seeing a couple people on Twitter be like, I could have seen this coming. Like it's a bit crap. It maybe was sleeper good.
Yeah.
It was getting played a lot, but it didn't feel inherently unfair to me.
It's crazy though, because for a card like that, going from 2 to 3, like I could definitely agree. Like at 2, it's probably like too good or like very good even. But at 3, it goes to like awful. I feel like instantly. I feel like it's really bad right now, which is pretty crazy. The other thing about it, which I think a nerf might have been unwarranted, is like what top deck was it existing in? If we go down the line, Thresh, Nasus, TLC, Aziralia, all of the top ones as Draven. Obviously,
Spiders
a lot of these
used it
don't incorporate it. Spiders does use
to
it.
make Stygians.
That is,
that
is true.
things.
That is true. Spiders is the one. Spiders
is
I would
probably
say
the best
is,
one. I guess.
Yeah, that is the best one. But I wouldn't put spiders in that echelon of the
top. No.
Of the ones that they were trying to nerf across the board.
No,
I don't know about that. And I guess if you are hitting spiders in particular as a deck, it kind of makes sense.
It did feel unnecessary. It felt unnecessary. I didn't play it as much, so it doesn't. I don't know. I'm not gonna miss it as much. Like Rummage really hurts, man. Like playing discard, you're only banking 1, and now you can't use it early on, and like yeah. But I'm sure that all you Nightfall players out there probably feel the same as I do about the stalking change for Rummage for me. But yeah, so it's kind of sad to see those cards go. Maybe in another couple months, another set, we'll get those reverts back.
I will call it now. They will get reverted.
Yeah?
They will get reverted. Like you said, it might be a month or 2.
Before the sun explodes.
Before the sun explodes, those will get reverted.
Yeah, for sure. There's a Heimer change. I thought it was cool. He got a 1/1 buff. It's
so
cool.
relevant.
Doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
it's so cool,
relevant.
though.
Yeah, it's cool. Nice try, guys.
Hecarim got 1 more health. Hecarim has seen better days, man. Like, he used to be so meta, and now
threatening.
I don't know the last time I saw someone play Hecarim. Like, I guess Lucian Heck, like,
I
way
was
back.
playing on ladder. It might have even been Stan. He was in Diamond with it.
Let's go, Stan.
But I did win handedly. I don't want to throw it out there like
Yeah.
that, but
there's no other way to say it.
I was not threatened by the Hecarim. I was not feeling very threatened by that card. So it's cool. It's another one where it's like it's good. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Like, you don't want to drop a Hecarim and it just trades into like a GP or one of those other units. So it's pretty big for him. I'm not gonna lie, especially with him having like a aura buff when he's leveled. Like, he needs to survive for his ephemerals to have that effect. So his health is definitely something that I think is like the way to go, like if you're trying to make him a little bit better. But I think just meta wise, like you said, it's not his time, in my opinion. Hasn't changed enough.
And the Nasus doesn't have Fearsome anymore. That's a huge change.
I think that's pretty huge.
Yeah. I don't know if we're gonna see it as much anymore.
Yeah. Like, on initial thought on it, I thought it wasn't going to be like that big of a difference, but from what I've seen in gameplay and just how I feel about it, I think it's has more impact than people would give it credit for on first look. Keywords are good. Keywords are good in this game. A hot take.
Yeah.
So him losing something like that is pretty big, especially when they had like the ability with things like Thresh and Merciless Hunter to kind of control where your fearsome blockers were going. And now that's just kind of out of the equation because it doesn't matter what it is. It could still block the Nasus. So that's huge.
Yep. And then they absolutely eviscerated Trundleless TLC.
Oh, they really needed to.
It is not. TLC is not a deck anymore. It's gone. Watcher not obliterating the entire deck is just massive. I mean, Liss is still good. Liss is still a solid champ. It doesn't really affect her as much, I think, in other decks that play her where the Watcher's more like a side bonus. Yeah,
Thralls could care less.
So, but yeah, that deck, that was the whole point of that deck, and it no longer has that piece. So
it technically, it still works. Like, it still works. You can still get it out with Matron, and you just have to survive a couple turns. Which, I mean, we all know that's what the deck is built to do.
That's true.
I've been seeing a good amount of people still playing it on ladder. A couple streamers. Shout out Cocky Baki. He's a top 32. I've been watching him. Yeah, top 32 in EU. He's been grinding it. And I've seen him farming ladder. So
dang. Okay, maybe I'm out here.
With that being said, also, there's tons of SI Freljord variants. People are trying to find the one for sure. I've been seeing, just Trundle, Lysandra, literally like, apart. I've seen Trundle Tryndamere, the Field of Rush. I've seen War Mothers. They're trying everything under the sun with those two regions. So with that being said,
You're
that
saying
type
it with
of
such
strategy,
contempt that you're like the controllers are out there controlling.
Every time I see it, I shed a tear personally. I get it. Some of your guys' game, you guys like it, but I'm seeing it all over the place. I don't know if it's just me. People know I dislike those regions combined, so I don't know if they're after me in particular, but people are on that for sure. Especially in I feel like the beginning of the season, there's a lot of aggro too. So
yeah, it's a good bet. FTR I think is in a super solid spot. I think FTR will see a good bit of tournament play unless there's they find the secret sauce with those regions. But that's a deck that has been really strong, and then TLC kind of took it over. But I was gonna say most people probably won't miss TLC because the gameplay was not that exciting to watch or to play against or to anything. So even though I was good at the deck and perform well with it, I'm okay with it hitting the wayside for a while.
Yeah.
The Sivir change too was cool.
Sivir change was really cool, and I thought that was
surprised.
Pretty out of nowhere, and I thought it would be pretty powerful. So I'm not gonna lie, one of the things I've done for one of my days on the patch and streaming was trying to figure out what would be the most cracked Sivir build. It's still tough. It's still tough, to be honest. I was 30's higher than I thought. I thought I would get this thing rolling a lot earlier. So it's still definitely balanced, at least. I don't think, they made a mistake and made Sivir the most insane card by any means. But it helps for sure. Getting that level up. She has a pretty strong level up condition, so.
Yes, super strong. She was already being splashed in certain decks, right, that were tier 1, Overwhelms, I think would run her as a one of. But so I was a bit surprised to see it. I was like, oh, she's already playable and decent. She's definitely a upper, maybe middle of the pack champion. But somebody I was talking to was like, yeah, but she's never really a 3 of in any deck. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. She's never a 3. She doesn't have a home. So it's cool to see. This is a good token buff that I think is going to edge that play rate just a little bit up. And that's what you want to do. So.
Yeah, if you're running Sivir LeBlanc too, I think that's the deck, that's built obviously to leveler. So for them it's huge for sure. If you notice, the increment is by 5. I don't think that is a coincidence. Reputation decks, right. That's the way they build it up. So that's one less strike really that you got to deal for Sivir to pop off. So it's huge for them for sure. Honestly, I have it's funny, I say I've been labbing the Sivir. I did not try the obvious. I have not tried Sivir LeBlanc, so I might need to revisit that.
Starting at the fringes and working your way towards meta. Yeah, that's good. Huge change that I've already felt that even for my day and a half of playing is this double up change. Oh man.
Yeah.
Fast speed decimate.
For sure.
Kill a unit.
For sure.
Very strong.
Yeah. With Pirates, I've been seeing it obviously a lot, and yeah, it's really strong. Obviously, it's counterable by a lot of stuff, but a ton of the decks that are out there right now aren't really running counters. If we're talking, or they don't have many in the deck. We're talking Lurkers, they got Bone Skewer, that's pretty much it. So when you're only countered by one card, can't complain.
Yeah.
And like you said, Fast Speed Decimate is huge. I've been calling for a buff for this card for a minute now. I would play a lot of Fizz Draven back in the day. And I was like, man, if I could just fit this double up card in here, that'd be perfect. Cause cause I could use it in a response to fizzle stuff for Fizz
right.
and get that decimate damage. So I was like, oh, Fizz would love this if I could get this card good. But at 6, it was just horrible. So at 5 now.
That deck sounds
way
hype.
Better.
I don't know if I've seen you play that one.
If people watch my stream, I know you guys are sick of me playing that one. That's one I play a lot, for sure.
Slotbot change, too. It gets it round played, which is cool. I've messed around with him a couple times back in the day in some, those casino draw decks. And this is nice. He's a really cool card.
Really cool. That's one callback I'll say though is he hurts a little bit that Rummage isn't able to see the light of day with him, but yeah, that's a cool one. It's one honestly I forgot about until this moment, and Yeah, that one's pretty hype for sure. Like I'm pretty excited to look into that one a little bit.
Rummage had to die so that
Rummage, yeah, so Slotbot
could have his time in the sun.
But does he have his time in the sun without Rummage is what we're saying.
Yeah. Howling Abyss going down 1. Shout out all you Howling Abyss players.
I was talking about all the SI for Freljord.
Yeah.
That's definitely
Howling
one
Abyss.
That is one of them. Yeah.
And then there's this new, we can start to transition maybe into like the new cards and stuff that we're excited to play. The card that grants Scout to a unit from Demacia. I feel like it just enables so many new strategies and decks and opportunity. I've been seeing Zed run it as well, like Zed Demacia.
I think that Zed Fiora Demacia Ionia deck, that is just such a perfect fit there.
Yep.
It's like such a easy, like I was talking before about a card like Boom Baboon, where it's just so easy to just transition to adding it to the deck. You're just like, it just fits in perfect, and that's one where it just fits in perfect in that deck. I was labbing that card a bit. I think it's a little tricky to use in a lot of the other combinations, but that one in particular, I think it's really strong in that deck.
Yeah, I saw one of my posted too. He was like, I immediately want to build. It's called Field Promotion, right?
Yeah, Field Promotion. I saw the tweet you're talking about.
Yeah, he wants to build a Field Promotion Great Beyond deck, and before I saw the tweet, that's where my mind went as well.
Oh, really?
A Targon Diehard. Yeah, I was like, I need to give Bird or I need to give Great Beyond Field Promotion.
Absolutely.
And watch my opponents cry.
I mean, at the same time, you're still thinking on the same wave as I was. I was like, Elusives, Field Promotion.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's get it.
Yeah.
What are some other new cards that you've been excited about?
New cards
to experiment with? And
I have one that I have not tried personally, but I've been seeing it putting in work on the other end is the Yetis, man. The Yetis are for real, I think. Like, just being able with Yearling. So pretty much it's like you have Yearling and you have Tall Tales. You can get those Yetis rolling turn 4. You end up getting it through Trapper.
Yeah.
Discounted. Well, Trapper or Ancient, then you would be rolling like turn 5. Is when it roll out. So turn 3 or turn 4, turn 5, you can load up the board if you're able to draw a good amount of those 8 drops. Those are powerful units for sure. I've seen a lot of people. It's interesting. It's like a Ash LeBlanc style deck without even running those champs though, and they still have the freezes, and they still are like taking advantage of cards like Reckoning and those, and just putting in work with just all Yetis, and it's like, it's strong. You'll look in Masters. There's a couple players that have already made it with that.
Shout out Successor hit Masters really. I think like top first 5 in or something, and I've been experimenting with Yetis a bit as well, and it's pretty good. It reminds me of like old Elnuks too, almost in a way, with these like free summons.
Ironically enough, we have new Elnuks, and the Yetis are feeling more like Elnuks than the Elnuks themselves. I feel like
this Abominable Guardian, the 8 cost summon is pretty good. Especially you hit it with an Omen Hawk maybe or something, and then it's a 6/6 and you get it for free. I mean, yeah, that's good. Oh, the card we couldn't remember was Defiant Dance, the Ionia card. And I thought it looked bad at first. I was like, wait, this card looks terrible. Didn't slow speed, you only get to Blade Dance 1. Didn't realize you can recall enemy units with it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good once you put that into the equation.
Absolutely. So what you're paying for, like we're talking Will of Ionia, right? You're going slow speed in exchange for being able to do Blade Dance, which is huge for that region for sure. I mean, not that region, but that deck in particular. Like, any way they can get Blade Dances off, that's huge. And that's removing a blocker, which is massive.
Removing a blocker.
I lost to it for sure.
Plus another attack is, exactly what it needed. Sacred Protector, the Shen tutor card.
I have yet to see it played. I have played against a lot of Shen Jarvan.
Yeah.
I don't know if, I'm an aggro player for sure, so I don't know if I just don't get that far in the game, but I haven't seen it. I don't know if
it's bad.
If they're running it. It's
spoiler alert, it's bad. So I was just going to say Swim tweeted, and he was like, this card it's a perfect Ionia card, all caps. He's like, it draws you Shen, like, it's a late game beefy unit, but it has barrier, blah, 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 and it's terrible.
It is terrible.
Now maybe Ionia will finally not be associated with terrible, but this card is not going to It's not it right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I really want to. This might be what I do today. Starlit Epiphany, the card that if you have a Celestial replaces your deck with Behold the Infinites.
Yeah.
RNG Fest in Targon, sign me up. That sounds fun.
That seems like your kind of style.
Yeah.
The one thing I've heard, which like, I mean, it makes sense in my head. Obviously, it's probably leaning towards the terrible side, but is using that card with Deep.
Oh, cool.
You just go straight to 20 cards in your deck, and then you're just 5 cards off Deep.
That's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea, except for the part where now you don't have sea monsters other than the ones in your hand.
But if you have not, then you get them back.
You still would?
I think so.
Okay. Oh, because does it toss them or obliterate them? That is the...
Wait, no, but it does. It says only... It says if you have a Celestial ally, replace your deck with 20 copies of Behold the Infinite. So yeah, you don't have any. And you have to have a Celestial ally.
Yeah.
So I think it's too much for Deep to do. I don't know how they would splash
definitely too much.
them.
I think Deep is fine off just sticking with what they got normally, but
interesting idea,
it's unique
though.
for sure. Some of those YouTubers and content creators that look for those types of decks, I'm sure you guys can have a field day with that one.
Atakan, if I'm saying that right, the Bringer of Ruin. Seems like
he seems just like bad Sith, yeah. The real thing with that, it's like, okay, instead of taking my win con wide where it's hard to counter, I will isolate it right here. Play Hush, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Play Vengeance. So I think he's pretty bad. He looks pretty hyped though.
He looks
the card
cool.
art.
Yeah,
he looks super
and
cool.
The overpowering feeling of him will attract players to like try to make it work. I do think it's bad. It's really hard for 10 mana cost cards to be good. They have to, you're spending so much of your turn, you have to last to that point in the game, and then they have to do something pretty much the turn you play them. So Asol's a good example where he has protection, he creates a card, the level is an insane win condition, but for regular follower units, really hard for them to be good at that mana cost.
With that being said, I think the formula has been cracked for follower 8 or 10 mana units, and it's Spectral Matron.
Yep.
That is the way you do it. If you want to run one of these cards, it's just Spectral Matron.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of glad they didn't nerf Matron.
I am
people
glad.
were asking for it, but
I'm glad it didn't have to die because of Trundle Lysandra.
Yep.
If they weren't able to bring like a buff that worked for Watcher, I think it would have had to been that.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they were able to find a route where they just took it down in power level without having to kill all of these other decks for sure, especially when they're adding another 10 drop that wants to see Spectral Matron with it.
Have you tried Echo at all?
I have not tried Echo. I've seen it, played against me a few times. I was talking down Echo a lot at first, especially Echo Zillion. I was like, people are like, oh, Echo Zillion's pretty good. The one thing I hear, I haven't seen it, but they're like, oh, BBG has the best Echo Zillion. I don't know why everyone keeps telling me that. I'm like, all right, I believe you. BBG's great. But I was like, there's no way Zillion and Echo can't be good. But when I play against it in ladder, I don't know if it's like a top deck by any means, but it's definitely like one I personally underrated. It's stronger than I would have expected. I need to get on the piloting side so I could really get a feel for it. With that being said, though, I think Echo's a little bit of a clunky build at a champion. I feel like he's kind of going like 20 different directions at once. But at the end of the day, with that deck in particular, predict ties it all together. That's the whole point. You can do 20 random things and you just predict whichever one works. And
Time Trick is like a key part of that, and that card is, I think it's replacing Rummage in PNC. It is so good.
And that's, I think, the best thing about Echo, right? Especially in that deck. I don't think 5 predicts is that hard to pull off in that deck.
Yep.
And then once he starts making 0 costs of that, that's huge. Huge.
Yeah, and then you're getting copies of those from if Zillion's leveled. I think that just happened to me a couple games ago, and I was like, oh, that's the point of this deck. I finally saw it, and I was like, yeah, that's good. Seems difficult to pull off, but yeah, the cool flavor too, like in the art style, and I like the surfboards and the techno surfer sort of.
Absolutely, the drop borders.
Yeah.
So I did have against me on ladder the biggest high roll I think possible for that deck against me.
Okay.
So turn 3, they play Xenotype Researcher. Next turn, they go with a predict into 3 drop borders, all buffed by the Xenotype researcher, 4/6s, and they killed me.
That's insane.
I think that is literally as high roll as you can get. It happened against me. It was not on stream, so I missed out on a little bit of a content opportunity.
Yeah, you had
but
some sympathy points in chat.
yeah. But you got the potential for that. That's definitely something.
Speaking of high roll, we've got Lurk, the new archetype. We've got Pike and Rek'Sai, champions for that archetype, and it was getting some flack early on. I think people were saying it looked terrible.
I was a flacker.
You were, yeah. We hadn't seen all the cards. I held off. I don't usually go on Twitter rants, but I did. I was skeptical for sure when it was the early cards. Now that we have it and we're playing with it, it's pretty good. I think it's not amazing. It's not like right now breaking tier 1 at all, but it feels strong.
I think it's definitely strong. I personally agree with you. I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's like tier 1 or meta defining by any means.
Yeah.
But with that being said, a lot of our compatriots, or another word for that.
Yeah.
I've been hearing a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's gonna be tier 1. It's gonna be the top deck." Like, wait, and these are people that are playing that deck a lot. So I'm interested to see what all these Lurk players have in store for us. But I think it's it's pretty good. I think as soon as I saw Pike, like that kind of brought it all together for me. I think Pike is pretty explosive for sure, and really just like ties it all together as just like their interaction and their way to like deal with a lot of the other strategies. Outside of that, it looked like a pretty slow burn that like was pretty counterable, especially with Rek'Sai not being something with spell shield and
right.
Doesn't level until attack. So that seemed like kind of difficult, but seeing it in action, I think it's a pretty powerful deck. And I know like playstyle wise, I've had some fun playing with it. Seems pretty fun to play. I've seen a lot of it on ladder. I think that's really just all it is. I don't think it's like everybody gravitating towards something for the power level. It's like it's a fun strategy to do. Like you manipulate things with predict. You use call the pack to cycle things on the thing. My favorite thing to do with that deck is like you use something like call of the pack, right, to put something on the top of your deck and then predict something on top of it, so you can kind of like set up your draws already for like the next turns. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool deck.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I didn't think about doing that. I think there was some experimentation day 1 of like not leaning into predict as much in Lurk, but you do need the predict package to kind of like get that consistency more off the attack buffs.
It's huge for sure. Like cards like Pharaoh Prescience, the 3-drop predict card. I run the 2-drop predict unit as well.
Yep.
In my version of it. I think all of those are huge. To guarantee Lurk is pretty big. The one way that deck just goes downhill is if you're just missing your Lurk. So they do need that little bit of a guarantee when they can get it.
I wanted to give a tip to chat and you guys, viewers who are watching this. I didn't know this, but like for the Zerath, the Under Titan, and cards like that, if you're attacking and they don't have the attack number where it needs to be, but they get it from the Lurk, like you need that 8 attack, you're attacking with 7 and then you hit Lurk, those buffs apply mid-attack, which I learned.
So it works.
It works. So you can attack with 7, hit a Lurk, get the 8 attack you need, and then the spell shield and overwhelm will trigger.
So something that I don't know if this is for sure or if I had a bug happen to me, maybe it's possible. So I did have a situation today when I was playing Lurk where I got the 8 attack from Lurk plus Rek'Sai buff.
Yeah.
And it did not get the spell shield and overwhelm.
Oh, that might be a bug.
It was the combination of, because it was at 6 Lurk plus Rek'Sai, it did not get it. I do not know what happened. I was pretty might have been a little bit tilted, I would say. Somebody's got to look into that for me. Somebody's got to look into that for me. Yeah, they might have to address that. Lurk for sure. It does, yeah.
It works, yeah. So, yeah, I didn't know that interaction at first when I was playing it. So that's a cool thing to know. We wanted to I think that kind of covers most of our thoughts on the patch, the new cards, what maybe we're looking forward to playing. It's just a great time to be an LOR player right now. Like a kid in a candy store, you can pick a card, throw it in a new deck, hit ladder, probably get a couple wins with it.
Absolutely.
some people are doing that to the ultimate extent. We're seeing some crazy decks at number 1, like we talked about.
We're talking about Tariq Jarvan is up there right now as the number 1 ladder position, which is pretty crazy. The craziest thing about all of these, I feel like most of these aren't even incorporating new cards. It's just that a better meta, better landscape, all kinds of stuff is at the top. Somebody was able to hit Masters and get pretty high in Masters. I don't think rank 1, but they were able to get there with Malphite Talia, which is pretty huge. I mean, there's no reason for them to be any better. Like, really, like if you're looking at all the buffs, like Talia did get one small buff, but I don't think that would be something that would be like, okay, now this deck is able to perform. But apparently, you know, I haven't tried it myself, but it's up there. And another deck, Sudden, if you guys are familiar with him, I saw him at rank 1 on the leaderboards with Timo Z Elusives.
That's sick.
And I was very familiar with Sudden as a player, and that deck list in particular. He literally took the deck list from about 5-6 seasons ago, a while back, card for card, hit it on ladder, rank 1. So it's an open playing field for so many different stuff, and it's a fun time in lore for sure.
Yeah, we had just a little mini drama update this week. We had a bigger one on our last episode, but we're trying to keep you guys up to date on all the gossip, all the happenings. Even though neither of us are big Redditors, it's a different world over there for the LOR. That seems to be where it goes down. Yeah. We've got our boy, our favorite resident spicy talker, Dovagetis, Riot Dovagetis, making some questionable comments. There was a Reddit post where they were talking, I think it was just congratulating Duckling, being like, wow, such a cool lineup, so cool to see such deck diversity. He won with it, that's amazing. And Dovagetis couldn't pass that up, had to get a little snide comment in there.
Absolutely. He, you know...
Did you know what he said? Do you remember what he said?
I do remember what he said.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say was, when he first said the first thing he said, it seemed like, oh, he kind of saw where we were all coming from. He gets it, and he realizes that the deck is broken to Zero Relia is what we're talking about. Oh, the deck is broken. And then, you know, as we saw, they did make changes to it on that field. But in this situation where they're talking about congratulating Duckling on his spicy lineup, he had felt the need to make a comment where he was saying that, oh, see this representation of this lineup and these strategies. So maybe if you guys didn't just complain about broken cards and actually, you know, I'm obviously not going verbatim, good, like you guys could experiment and get some spice on the on the ladder.
Quit being lazy.
Yeah, quit being lazy and just start experimenting. You guys could beat a Zero Relia. And then people were very quick to remind him of a very key factor in the seasonal run.
Format.
The dream run that Duckling had and his strategy going into this situation.
It's a very nice strategy.
It's a huge strategy. And the way that this diversity happened was to ban a Zero Relia.
Every fucking time.
Every time. So clearly, the deck isn't balanced. It's that he had the option to ban it. So,
which you can't do on ladder.
Absolutely. So for him to make that remark, it just seemed like a little out of left field and a little...
It was pretty out of touch.
Didn't
read the room.
It felt like he doesn't spend much time playing the game.
I don't know. They just might want to hire like a PR person to manage his Reddit comment account and double check, maybe have some permissions on there.
Absolutely. It was something where it's just like, I don't care if he has that take, but you know it's hot button. You already did it once. Just don't say it, man. Just don't.
Yeah, and it's something we've talked about too on our other pod. Like, it's not the player's fault. We're not making the cards, and ladder is so important. They're gonna play what decks are the best, so it's their job to balance that. And you can't blame your players for being uncreative. Like,
literally,
a patch like this allows us to be more creative.
Absolutely. So what he's talking about. So I don't know if he just thinks maybe we just took his advice, or he realizes that, you know, all we needed was just a cleaner landscape, and we'll do our thing. If he gives us the opportunity and the flexibility with balance to explore different options. There's nothing we have more fun doing than trying different archetypes and stuff of that nature. Nobody wants to be just playing the same deck like the whole time. So it's an ideal time for lore, kind of transitioning back into that.
Yeah.
It's an ideal time for lore for sure. I think this is like going to be one of the great seasons and patches.
Yep. I think that's wrapping it up for us. I have my tournament that I'm hosting next weekend, a $500 free open. I'll put it in the description of this. Everybody go sign up. I need more people to sign up.
Like you said,
I want to pay you guys.
You guys need to sign up for this tournament because there's a certain word he said. I don't know if he put enough emphasis on it. It is a free tournament. Free tournament for all you guys. There's no reason not to. If you got any time that day, you're thinking about climbing ladder, get prepped for seasonals. Get ready. Get your time in now early.
There's no meta right now, really. There's no established meta, so it's a fun time to join a tournament and just roll the dice.
And we got some cash on the line too.
And it's a sponsored event. So far, I haven't had to put up any of my own money. So if this performs well, we may be able to do more sponsored tournaments like this in the future. So check it out. And thanks for checking us out and coming back to Loaded Dice Episode 2. It's been a blast. Thanks for hanging out,
man.
Faint.
Always a pleasure. Appreciate you, bro.
See you guys next time.
Catch you guys in the next episode. Nice.
Got him.